After years of relentless chronic stress, endless digital noise, and the lingering weight of post pandemic exhaustion, something powerful is shifting. People are finally recognizing burnout for what it really is, not just being tired, but a full system dysregulation that locks the nervous system in a chronic fight or flight mode. That constant low hum leaves us emotionally numb, cynical, disconnected, and far less effective than we used to be. Today, we're stepping into the growing movement that's calling for a deep emotional repair alongside physical recovery. Because true healing happens when we stop pushing through and start listening to what our bodies and hearts have been begging us all along. In this episode, we'll explore what kinds of intentional restoration really looks like without rushing or glossing over the hard parts. We'll move beyond the quick fixes into the kind of rest and reconnection that actually rebuilds resilience, joy, and aliveness from the inside out. So settle in, take a deep breath, and let's get this party started tonight on Thursday Night Live. Okay, you're supposed to work. Okay, so it is totally not cooperating, not creating any stress in my body or my life, even though I'm pushing the buttons correctly, not happening. Anyway, hi, I'm Dr. Rita Louise, and welcome to Thursday Night Live. And today we are going to be talking about radical self-care. Now, if you have tuned into this show for a while, there are many things that I'm going to talk about that we have not discussed that we have discussed before. And then there are going to be some things that are going to be new, or I will kind of put in a different little twist on it. But I really wanted to talk about some practices that we can bring into our lives to help calm the body down, because it really is true. Everybody is living in this layer of stress and layer of anxiety that keeps us from really relaxing. And the only thing we can really do is kind of zone out and try to navigate the world with the best we can. And it's not really fun. It's not really fun. So the first thing that I wanted to talk about is physical support. And so when we are in a chronic fight or flight state, usually that means our adrenal glands are being activated and they are releasing cortisol into the body. And so while there are a lot of techniques that you can do to help calm the body down, which we'll talk about, but one of the things that I really like to suggest to people, especially if they're finding that it's becoming overwhelming and really interfering with their lives, is to take some physical action. And when I mean physical action, I'm talking about working with some kind of herbs and supplements to support the adrenal glands. Because when we support the adrenal glands, it's not like taking a medication. It's not like taking a pill that just masks the symptoms. What an adrenal support formula does is it nurtures the adrenal glands and gives them what they want and what they need so that they can thrive and be healthy. And so if you go on Amazon, there are tons of different adrenal support products that you can get. And I do want to make one specific clarification. So there are herbal and vitamin adrenal supports, and then there are also glandular adrenal supports. And so if the list of ingredients include glandular, and usually it's porcine adrenal gland, which means you're getting pig parts, without getting some kind of testing done or without working with a health provider like myself, I would avoid those because they are actually giving you hormone. It's like taking a thyroid pill. That thyroid pill is giving you thyroid hormone. And so taking a supplement like that, especially if you are just, taking it willy-nilly or take it for a very long period of time, can interrupt your adrenal gland's ability to work for themselves. So that is my one word of caution. But things like ginseng or ashwagandha or B vitamins or licorice root or holy basil are all herbs that will support and nourish the adrenal glands. And again, you go online and there are combinations that include different things in there that can give you a broader and wider coverage for supporting your stress health. But one of the other things that you can do, we live in such a digital age, and, you hear people say it, but I'm going to say it out loud again, maybe take a tech detox. We can become so addicted to our screen time, and, we have to look for the next like on Facebook or, what the next post on Twitter is, and we get all wrapped up in what's going on. And so maybe it's time to turn off your devices, turn off the TV, and just have some quiet alone time. Be with people, go out and listen to the birds sing, but sans electronics, and just allow your body to discharge from that ongoing EMF vibration that you are putting into yourself, and just give your emotions a chance to take a break. Something that I talk about on this show a lot is the idea of mindfulness. And mindfulness is about paying attention to what you're thinking. Am I thinking happy thoughts? Am I thinking negative thoughts? Is my brain going crazy trying to solve a problem? So it might not be negative, but it might be in this ongoing thinking place. And sometimes when we are mindfulness and we have bad brain, and I know we've talked about bad brain on this show, when you intervene in there by being mindful of your brain, it can help you avoid escalation in your stress response. So said another way, it will calm down your fight and flight mechanism. Something that a lot of people like to do is to do journaling, where you just get a notebook and write about your day, write about how you're feeling, maybe ask yourself some pointed questions, well, why am I feeling this way? Or what can I do to shift what's going on in my life? I find that technique is very relaxing, very meditative, and it gives you the opportunity to kind of unload onto a piece of paper and not to somebody else. Getting those those coloring books, so maybe get some crayons, get some color pencils, and just spend time coloring. It is just a low mental activity that causes you to have to focus and keep your mind on this thing. And it is like journaling, like mindfulness, a meditative technique. Breathing, just being conscious about your breathing, or doing box breathing. And so box breathing is you breathe in for 4, hold it for 4, exhale for 4, and hold it for 4. So the exhale for 4. And you just do that in a box-like fashion. So do 8 or 10 box breaths, and you could do that throughout the course of the day. And that will also help to calm your body down and to help it re-regulate better. Going and doing some grounding, get outside, hug a tree, walk through the grass, listen to the birds, focus on something that is happening out there, can all be very grounding to the body and the psyche. Getting in some gentle movement, maybe some yoga, or go out and take a walk. If you like something a little more invigorating, maybe go to the gym or go mow the lawn or something like that. But something where there is movement involved can be very relaxing to not only the body, but the psyche as well. But each of these things can help calm dysregulation before it totally hits burnout. So in the past few years, I'm going to start it here. In the past few years, the pot has really been stirred and all kinds of stuff. You know, when you have a pot that's been on the stove and there's all this stuff that's stuck to the bottom and you start stirring it and you're stirring it and all of that settled leftover material that was stuck on the bottom starts coming to the surface. And that's kind of what we're in right now because nobody knows what the heck is going on anymore. And instead of things calming down and that material settling back to the bottom, it's like it's every day someone is stirring that pot, causing all of this old material to come up. Now, in one way, that can be a really good thing because this gives us the opportunity to look at what's been stuck to the bottom and gives us the chance to let it go and become a brand new person. On the negative side, it's uncomfortable and can be kind of challenging for us to navigate through this helter-skelter that many of us are feeling right now. But one of the benefits of this is that it is causing us to find our authenticity. It is making us take ownership of who we are and what we want for ourselves and what we want to have in our lives, which brings us to the next point, which is boundaries. And so many times people think of boundaries as, I'm going to put this boundary on you about, you know, like you said this and it bothers me and I don't want to be your friend anymore. That's a boundary. But we can actually use boundaries for emotional repair. We can set a boundary on how much work we do, how much tech time we have, you know, and as well as boundaries on our relationship that prevent resentment and rebuilds a sense of safety and agency in ourselves. But basically, because of that authenticity and ownership, a boundary says, this is what I want, this is what I need. And the boundary says, but you're not doing that, so I need to move you out, or I need to shift this situation so I can feel more comfortable, safer, less stressful inside of my own body. Kind of tied to that is taking some dedicated time off, you know, a burnout retreat to replenish yourself and focus on reconnection and low stimulating activities, you know, like going for that walk, going fishing, going to a park where it's just you time, you know, and these things that I'm suggesting, you know, they're just suggestions. It's really important for you to ask yourself, what can I do? What will help lower my blood pressure and make me feel more calm or make me feel more connected? And own that, because your journey is your journey and my journey is my journey. And then the final thing is go have fun. You know, find pleasure and find joy, because those two things are medicine. It is giving back and refilling those coffers within yourself that have been emptied out through all of this stress-filled time that we've been having. So ask yourself, what do I want? What will bring me joy? What will bring me pleasure? And I think the rest of it will all fall into place all by itself. So I hope that you take this to heart and use this information to help discharge some of the stress and anxiety you might be feeling. And it might not be all in your face. You know, what I've noticed is it's this low level anxiety that many people have right now. And so what can you do to address that so that you can get back to the old normal, not this freaking new normal, which really sucks. So that's it for today. So let me make a couple of announcements and we will get started. All right. So if you happen to be watching this show on in a rerun and you want to join the activities, the best place to go is my YouTube channel. That's just Energy Radio on YouTube. That's at Just Energy Radio, 7 p.m. Central. Hit the live link and join the chat. And one of the other things that we have going on, there are some new things you can participate in here. And so if you, all right, that's not working. So if you go to soulhealer.com/live, soulhealer.com/live. So like I'm looking at the number of comments that have already been made. So there are 26, which means there's 26 people or potentially 26 readings in the queue. And if you're down at the bottom of the list and you want to jump the line, go to soulhealer.com/live, fill out the little form, and you would be pushed up to the next person in line. If you have a specific question that you would like to ask me and not just get a general reading like I traditionally do, again, go to soulhealer.com/live, click on the Ask Dr. Rita link and ask away. You can also go there if you want to leave me a little something because you love me and want me to be happy. Anyway, so let's get going. Let's shift over to the comments and we will just get this party started.